For the guys there that don't know me, my name is Mark Schrader. I am engineer at Adroit Technologies, do mostly projects and support work. And in the past while, I've been working on the I have actually worked on this web service for the Mitsubishi FX5, sorry. After this little session, you'll see that it's actually quite a nice little service. I've used it quite a few times. I haven't used it on projects yet, and I'll explain to you guys as we go along why it's a little bit difficult to use this on projects. It's a fantastic product. I think you guys should know that. If you don't know that, then come speak to us, and we'll help you guys out with a little test. Alright, so let me get started. My first thing I'm going to do today is the agenda. I'm going to do a quick little introduction. I'm going to talk about the web server function. I'm going to talk about how we prepare to use the web server function, and then we'll actually show you the web server function. And then one of my favorite parts is the user web server function, where you can actually write your own HTML program, which is actually can look very similar to an HMI. But like I'll explain to you later, it's a little bit difficult. I have done it. I struggled a little bit with it, got it to work eventually, and it works really, really nicely. It's nice and fast. Yeah, I'll carry on. I'll show you guys a bit later. All right. So what is this function? It's a function which can be used to read-write device data directly to the PLC using a web browser. An original web page can be created by users and displayed as well. So any compatible web browser can be connected via Ethernet. Now I've tested this. So IE can be used. I don't know if Edge can be used. I haven't used Edge yet. Google Chrome, Android, I've actually done it from my phone. Apple Safari, I've done it from my iPhone. So I did the Android from my previous phone, and I did the Apple Safari from my own iPhone. And very, very important, something you should know, is that this service only works on the FX firmware version 1.01. Okay, and then for CPU serial 17X and up. Okay, I have had people ask me why this isn't working, and then I found out that they have older firmware version and the older serial version, serial number as well. All right. So what is a web server function? So you can read-write data, device data. Now, when they talk about device data, that's basically registers like D registers, X registers, Y registers, M registers. So anything you want to, you can actually monitor it via this, and you don't have to use your GXWorks 3. So somebody can sit in an office, and if somebody doesn't have a PLC program with them, they can always use the web service function to monitor their devices. All right. So what else can you do? You can create an original web page called the user web page. It's an original web page that can be created by users. The create web page can be displayed on a web browser as a user web page. Now that acts very, very similar to what an HMI or a SCADA will work. Although I would still recommend you use a SCADA or an HMI, because it's a hell of a lot easier to program than a HTML page, for example. There are a lot of guys out there that can work on HTML, but there are not a lot of guys that can do it well. Okay. So let me carry on with that. So what other functions do we have? You can restrict operations. You can basically create, I think it's 5 user accounts on there. And you can authorize certain users to use certain parts of the web page. So you can authorize some guys to use just the system web page or just the user web page. And you can actually authorize people to use both of them as well. All right. So the number of user accounts, I said 5, I was wrong, it's 4. Okay, your default port number is 80. You can change this. Okay, so if you want to use port 85, it's fine. You can use port 85 as long as that port 85 isn't used by anything else on your PC. Your supported languages only English and Japanese. Okay, and then you have a refreshing cycle between 5 and 120 seconds. Your default refreshing cycle is 5 seconds, and no, it can't refresh faster than that. So you might sometimes just miss a M bit changing or Y bit changing, and within 5 seconds, and you might not actually see it happen. Okay. I want to check any questions yet. Okay, so you guys still struggling to hear me? Okay, good. All right. Okay, let me carry on. So when you prepare to use this web server, you'll normally require one of these, or actually all of these devices. Okay, FX5U PLC module, of course, GXWorks 3. GXWorks 3 you're going to use to do the original setup. Okay, web browser, obviously, a router, hub, or wireless LAN. You can use an SD memory card. And now this is used just for the user web services. This is for your program that you might be writing on your web service. Okay. So when you prepare to use your web service, you need to prepare your engineering tool, which is GXWorks 3, and a device where a web browser can be used. For example, a PC, or you can use your phone, or you can use a tablet. Okay, you configure the CPU parameters with the engineering tool at first, and then after you've done that, you normally power off and on the PLC, or you can reset it. I normally like to reset it. I find it better. It works better than powering it off and on. Okay, so resetting it, and your CPU module will then reflect the parameter changes. Okay, so you can access the CPU module then from the web browser, where you can obviously log on to the web server or log off from, and then log off from the web server. To log on to the web server, you will be asked for a username and password. That is if you set up a username and password inside the GXWorks 3, inside your engineering tool. Okay. So preparing to use the web browser, the first step, like I said, was preparing the engineering tool and a device where the web browser can be used. I don't know how familiar you guys are with GXWorks 3 or GXWorks in general, but I find it actually quite an easy program to work with. Normally you open a new program, and inside your new program, to change the actual parameters in the IP address, you would go to navigation window, parameter, CPU module, module parameter, Ethernet port, basic settings, and own node settings. And then inside there you can change your IP address. Now this is the IP address that you're going to use inside your web browser. So when you go into your web browser, you type in the IP address of the PLC, and it will open up the web service page for you. Okay, and that's all you need to do as far as the IP address is concerned. If you have a default gateway, obviously you can add your default gateway in there. But this is normally only used when you're communicating through a router to another network. Okay. Very important, when you're using the engineering tool, you need to actually enable the web server settings. So by default, it's not enabled. Okay, so you're going to enable it again via navigation, parameter, CPU module, module parameter, Ethernet port, application settings, your web server settings. So you enable this, and once you've enabled this, you should be able to use your web browser. Also important, your host station port number, keep it on 80, because that normally is the HTTP standard for web browser. So keep it at 80. If you want to change it to something different, by all means, go for it. If you, I don't know what reason you would actually have for doing that. Okay. So the next setting that you're going to change is you're actually going to add your users, user 1, user 2, user 3, 4. And as you can see over there, you can permit a user to see both displays. And when they talk about both displays, they're talking about the system web page and the user web page. So if you have a user that you want to have access to both of these, then you can obviously give that guy access to it. If you want somebody to only see the system web page, you can give him access to it. And also, if you want somebody only to have user web page access, you can give it to them as well. Nice thing about this as well is you can enable write to the devices. So if you want to change a set point from the web service, you can do it. If you don't want somebody to do it, obviously you can disable it. Once you've disabled it, this guy can't change any settings. Okay, he can't start a motor by accident, or he can't lower set points for a PID loop, for example. I would only recommend that higher level people do that. You know, for example, a maintenance manager or plant manager or production manager. But your normal guy that's on the floor, your operators, I would never recommend them actually changing anything unless there are reasons for them to do that, obviously. Okay. So you prepare your engineering tools. So the next thing you need to do is you need to, you go from this page to this page. This is where you actually add your new user. This is where you put a username in, a password, and of course you always need to re-enter your password at the end of the day. Okay. And of course, like I said earlier, if you want to access the web service, you need to use an Internet Explorer, for example, like we've used in this example, and you just add the IP address of the device, and you should have access to your web server. Okay. So when you log into your web server, this is what your default page looks like. It will ask you for a username and password. Okay. And once you put in your username and password, you will be able to go into the web server function. Okay. These are some of the features that you get. All right. Detailed module information, device monitor, CPU diagnostics, event history, access log, refreshing cycle of display, and a language changer switcher. Okay. So detailed module information, as you can see, it will tell you what the name is of the device, the actual serial number. That serial number over there won't work for the web service. You're going to have to get 1.17x and up in order for it to work. And of course it will give you a firmware version, IP address, all these sort of things. Okay. Device monitor. This is where you can actually change your devices or view your devices, your D registers. You can actually click on that drop down box. There's a D register, X register, M registers, any register that the FX5 can monitor, you'll be able to monitor as well. You can then add your D100, for example, and it will monitor from D100 all the way through. As you can see, I think it can do up to 20 devices, if I'm not mistaken. So once you've put in D100, it will go from D100 up to D120. Okay. And obviously you can say what data type you want. If you want it to be a bit or a binary type value or a word, signed or unsigned. Okay. CPU diagnostics. So this will tell you your current state of your CPU. All right. So it tells you that on this example, there's a moderate alarm parameter error. So this parameter error code 2241. I'm not exactly sure what that is. There's so many error codes, unfortunately, or fortunately, and these parameter errors, obviously not a serious one. If you have a more serious one, it will be a red, and it will actually say error, if I'm not mistaken. And then once you clear that error, either by changing a parameter, these things go away. Okay. You have event history. This is very important. As you can see there, you can monitor your links, you can monitor your parameters, SD card enabled when it boots up. So if you had a power failure and it starts up again, it will tell you the actual time when it booted up. Because sometimes, you know, power goes out, comes back on again. We live with that sad reality, unfortunately. Okay. And then the access log, very important. Here you will see who accesses your HTTP page, your web server page. As you can see over there, HTTP logged off over there, and then somebody logged on again, and then he changed the device. So it will actually even tell you who changed the device and what the device was changed to. Okay. Refreshing cycle. Okay, this is where they change the refresh rate. You can't make it quicker than 5 seconds, unfortunately. You can make it between 5 and 120 seconds. I don't know why anybody would make it shorter than, or longer, should I say, than 5 seconds. It depends on the application, obviously. And then your language switcher, you can change from English to Japanese. Okay, those are the only languages that I know of that are supported at the moment. So we can maybe ask them to support Afrikaans in future, although I doubt that very, very much. Okay. So when you use the web server function, now we download a library from the user web page. And I'm talking specifically now about the user web page. Okay, so we download the library from the user web page. You can edit this web page. You can then store it onto the SD memory card, and you can access that user web page. Okay. So the library that you download is basically this file over here, and you can download it from the Mitsubishi Electric FA website. If you cannot get this this file, because it's sometimes a bit difficult to find, contact us at Adroit, and I actually have this file, and it is available. So yes, come and speak to us, and I will be able to give it to you, or Freddie, or Reichard, or whoever has it. Okay. So when you edit the web page, you can edit this user page. On the right here is just a very small example of an HMI, not an HMI, sorry, of an HTML page. Just monitoring some values there. It's monitoring, I think it's D1 over there. No, sorry, D2000. Okay, so it's monitoring D2000, D2001, 2002, and so it goes on. Okay. So you can edit this page. When you edit it, you edit the index.html page. Okay. So if you understand HTML, you can edit this page, and you can basically, it can act as an HMI or as a skater if you really, really wanted to. Okay. That's one of the disadvantages, unfortunately, with it, is that you have to be fluent in HTML in order to get this to work. Okay. Now on the right here, you'll see the actual hierarchy of the SD card and how you need to store your data. So once you need to store everything in the www folder, so directly in the not the boot folder, the base folder. You add the www and you add your user, and then you can add your files inside there. Okay. That's basically how the hierarchy works with this. Okay. This page basically tells you what this means over here, and what is absolutely necessary and what is not necessary. As you can see there, your login user you actually don't need to have. So if you do log on and you have set up a username and password, you can still log in with your login username. If you don't need to log in with the username and password, then you don't set this. I showed it in a previous step that we had. Okay, this user our user web library.js is a JavaScript file which is actually necessary for this. Okay, and then obviously your other files that you might use, the CSS file, these are all optional. So www folder is necessary, and your folder called user, and your index.html. This is where you basically do all your coding at the end of the day. So how do you access this web page? On the left hand side, there is a toolbar, and you just click on the user web page and it will open the web page for you. Now I've just got a small example on the right here of something that I actually did on a project for, I think I did this for the roadshow that we did once, and it worked quite nicely. I was quite proud of it at the time, but obviously I know that there's a lot more that we can do to this to make it better, especially if you have people that understand this a lot better at the end of the day. Okay, so thank you guys. That's all I have to talk about for now. If you guys have any questions, don't be scared to ask. Oh, no questions. Okay. Okay guys, any questions? This presentation, I am busy recording it, so we will be able to upload it to the YouTube website or the YouTube channel, so that if you want to look at it again, if you want to hear my voice again, see my ugly face, then you can do this. Okay. Any other questions? Another guy from Turkey, that's cool. That's very nice. Sim. Thank you guys. Show it live. No, sorry Dave, I can't show it live. I don't have a PLC with me at the moment, unfortunately. I would love to have showed it live to the people. I'll send you a link, no problem. No problem, Dane. Alright, so tomorrow guys, I'm going to be talking to you guys about the cloud service. Basically connecting a Mitsubishi PLC to an Adroit SCADA over a GPRS GSM 3G type connection, and I can do this again when I get equipment, no problem. Alright, so yes guys, I'll see you guys tomorrow. I'll be speaking about the cloud connection. Guys, have any questions, if you have anything that you want to know, my number is there, my email is there. Don't hesitate to contact me at all. I'm always available. Yes, even over weekends. I'm always here to help. Alright guys, if there aren't any questions, thanks very much. I'll speak to you guys later. Yes, ask me questions. I'm not scared. If you can't think of anything now, send me an email or give me a call. Okay guys, thank you.